Words cannot even describe how difficult it is to find a clean Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4. The 3000 GT was way ahead of its time, almost in a bad way. But I finally had the chance to drive one with extremely low miles and immaculate condition. So is the stock 3000 GT as wonderful as I always thought it was? Or did its unreliable reputation just get the best of it? Let's go for a drive and find out. So, finally, we are in the most minty 3000 GT VR4 I've been in ever. The last time I did a nice VR4 was 2013. Wow. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Sure. My name is Andy. I am a huge Mitsubishi fan. If you haven't seen on Instagram, DSM Nation,
definitely check it out, because you post like all of my dream cars when I was 15. You know what I mean? Like, that's like the attitude, like, because I wanted a 2G DSM as my first car.
Yeah.
And very much like, I mean, do you remember the Need for Speed Underground intro?
Oh yeah.
You're like, oh my God, that Eclipse is getting modified, and then, you know, Brian O'Connor,
yeah,
and then all this. It really converted a lot of us 90s kids to be like Mitsubishi,
yeah,
you know, really into it. But not only is this the 3000 GT, which is, I think, one of the coolest stylish cars of the 90s. Like, it felt very Ferrari-like of the time. The normal ones had active aero, which was very problematic, but it's cool they tried.
Oh, I'll actually press this button right here.
Okay.
ECS, electronically controlled suspension.
And what year is this car?
This is a 95.
Oh my God.
And so they actually built a Spyder, the hardtop convertible 3000 GT, just for 2 years, 1995 and 6. The 95
this is the Spyder.
This is the Spyder, and this is the 95, which I think is the one you'd want, because 96, they got rid of that ECS.
Really?
So even the 96 Spyders or any VR4 3000 GT, you can't get the electronically controlled suspension.
Really? Well, what I always loved about this car was how space age it felt.
Yeah.
Because it has so many knobs and buttons at the bottom that it's like almost overwhelming.
And all the gauges to you, right?
Yeah, well,
I get nothing on this side.
Yeah, passenger gets nothing.
Yeah.
But this also shows the influence of, like, you know, the Supra and everything. The RX-7, the Supra, the VR4, all these cars of this era all have the same kind of mindset with the cabin. Yeah. They definitely influenced each other, I think. What's really tragic about these cars, I feel like, is the dashboards. I feel like a lot of the times you see these really worn down.
Yeah.
So this example, how'd you find it, first of all?
Well, I mean, kind of like just like you, right? We all remember middle school, high school years, like looking for that very first car. This one didn't become my first car, but every day since high school, I was checking Auto Trader. Oh yeah. Listings everywhere. I found a guy in Poughkeepsie, New York that was selling this at 23,000 miles at the time, and that was 2017. So I just grabbed it as a chance. I had to get one.
Sure. And
this is before like prices like exploded. I mean, these days, I think a Spyder clean version hopefully can get up to like high 40s.
It's insane.
I'm still hoping there's still some room to grow, but like I looked at this car as just like the Mac Daddy Mitsubishi, the one I couldn't have, but I always wanted it.
I'm so fascinated by the history of this car because it was just so unique for the time.
Let me see that here.
Oh, no way.
This is a window sticker.
Oh, you have the window sticker? What did it MSRP?
MSRP 65,000.
No way. Was it really 65 grand?
Which is about 113,000 in today's money. So, I mean, you're getting something that wasn't made. There wasn't a hardtop convertible since Ford tried in the 50s.
I didn't think about that, because there was that, and also it wasn't a hardtop, but the S13 Verts, those were very much outsourced as well. They sent it to a company to do all that.
It may,
I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same.
It may have been, because like the company American Sunroof Corporation is based in SoCal, and they did everything from like Toyota Celicas. Like if you could think of it as a convertible, they probably have done it.
That's pretty rad. It's so interesting seeing this interior and like how much character and time and effort they put into it, and that it's still. Holds up isn't the word, but it's still like a cool place to be.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a neat car. And I love the gills and the arrow and the wing and the, this is the fixed headlight one, right? When did they produced the flip-up ones?
So the flip-up was the first generation from 1991 to 1993 model year. And then it switched to these fixed projectors. The 94 3000 GT had glass headlights, and everything from 95 and above, they switched it to plastic. So if you're a 3000 GT fan, it's like you want the glass headlights, you're looking for all the cool, pieces that are pretty rare.
Also, this has a 6-speed.
This is
6-speed was super rare back in the 90s. Like 5-speed dominated forever. But you were saying the overdrive is so obnoxiously long that it's not really worth it.
Well, even 5-speed or 6-speed, I think the gears are pretty tall. So on a highway, I'm not using the overdrive 6 gear unless you're over 100.
Sure.
For sure. But down here, I will say, like, before I moved the car from New Jersey to Dallas, I wanted to make sure it was just highway ready.
Right.
And I think finally, because of the environment I was in, I was forced to drive it on the highways.
Yeah.
I started to see what the car was actually meant for, which was crushing highway miles.
Right.
At good comfort, and like just easy speed.
The seats are very comfortable.
I think they're well bolstered.
They're really well bolstered, and I mean, we're both kind of small dudes, so maybe we are a little biased.
I think we're of the Japanese demographic of who they designed it for. You know,
it's funny. I tell people, this is a side note. I tell people that I was a late bloomer. I always tell people I wanted to be so tall as a kid, and then when I started doing this as a career, I was like, thank God I did it. It was like, I'll be the demographic, like you said.
Well, you stretched out like Gumby, and I think it's good when you get old. You'll thank yourself for that.
Twin turbo V6 is always one of the most uniquely mounted engines I've ever seen.
For this, yeah.
It's so bizarre. When you pop the hood, you're like, wait, is that facing me?
Yeah.
You're like, what is happening right now? Because I was telling you earlier, the two cars I always think about that are hard to work on is 300ZX and VR4.
Yeah.
Like, when your buddy says, hey man, can you come over and help me work on the car? And they go, what kind of car is it? They go, a VR4. They're like, I can't make it, bro. I have something else to do tonight,
That's like the story of, when I was looking around, I called some shops, and, even a shop today is like, hey, do you work on 3000 GTs? It's like the voodoo word. They're like, oh, no.
No, please no, because next thing they're like, how do you reach into here? There's nowhere to put your hand.
It's small fingers, and they're going to get cut up, especially when you have to reach the back bank of the V6. But unlike, the Supra or Skyline even, these turbos in here are basically, they're equal, right? They're not sequential where you got one at the low end, one at the high end. So in this car, around 2,500 RPM, that's when you'll feel all that torque start to come on. And it comes on in a pretty good linear power band.
It's like all induction noise. Funny how the VR4 has this very like suction, weird induction noise. I think what's really fascinating is with the windows up and everything, they did a good job on this hardtop. Like it feels really
well insulated.
And you said it took what, 30 seconds to lower and raise?
30 seconds to lower and raise the top, which even by modern standards, like a LC convertible, that's like 12 to 13 seconds. But like 30 seconds, the fact that I just had to touch one button and it does it was mind blowing back then. The back wheels, you should feel them turn too.
It's four-way steering. Yeah. So that's actually the first time I have felt that, because it usually doesn't work either. Which, no offense, I love these cars. I want to be very clear. I've always adored them. I've always thought they were cool. But they're also very heavy.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that the 3000 was like, what, 40-something hundred pounds?
So the convertible, adding some weight and structural rigidity, it's like around 4,200 pounds.
Oh my God. And that's a car in the 90s, That's with airbags and everything to the limited degree that we had.
Exactly. It's like they had to put every gizmo in a leather upholstered interior in a car, with the power plant it has. It's easy to see where the weight comes from,
The four-way steering is so, there it is. It's right? So weird. Because you feel it almost torque vector.
And you have to commit to it.
Because it'll weird you out. Because it's probably the most unique four-way steering I've ever felt. It's really bizarre. Because like Porsche and stuff like that today, you don't even notice it, right? Or you do, but it's so well integrated because it's been mastered. This is like, we're gonna try this out, and they turn. They don't just like turn. They like legitimately
really turn. And unlike I think it was a Celica that had all-wheel steering earlier than this car, but that was through like the toe mechanism, basically kind of changing it. But this is hydraulically powered, so that's why you feel
Oh, is that why it's so drastic?
But there's also, you feel a little delay too.
Yeah, no, it takes a beat.
Yeah.
You go, wait a minute, is it there? And then you're like, oh, it's definitely there. So when you do DSM Nation and all that, if you had to choose between owning like the cleanest 2G ever in the 3000.
Oh man, you're gonna put me on the spot. So
yeah.
For all those people out there that are thinking like, oh, DSM Nation, like, yeah, I started with an Eclipse. That's why I call it that. Like, even though 3000 GT is not DSM, it's still, to my eyes, that's the holy grail Mitsubishi.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone loves an Evo. I love an Evo too, but at the end of the day, it's like, I would probably still take the cleaner 3000 GT.
Right.
Just because it's that much better of a car. I mean, the DSM though, if I could find, you know, a bone stock low mile GSX from 1999.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure. But
this is so weird.
Right.
Oh my God. That's so strange.
And like owners at the time were, you know, a lot of people, especially when they modified them, they just took it off because it's like they don't want to fight that sensation. But at a stock level, when you need that all-wheel steer, like on an exit bend of a highway that you took too fast, you'll be glad it's there, you know?
Another thing I'm noticing is the turbos, they have a very linear torque band. Yes. Once they hit it, they're done. That's it. You're just gonna cruise. It's not bad. It's not like one of those turbo systems that keeps pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. It's definitely very much, okay, you're accelerating. Yep. This is what you're doing.
It's good that even like, let's say you're cruising at 4th gear,
that's how loud it is. If you were asking. Brakes are good.
Brakes aren't bad.
No, they're pretty good.
Drilled and slotted. But I probably should do the pads. I mean, I try. It's a shame. It's like I drive it so infrequently, but it's still tires and brakes. You know, if you're
this man came out with this clean thing just for me to drive around. So give him credit.
I'll tell you. I mean, I can ramble for days about the history of Mitsubishi Motors.
Sure.
I mean, almost anything related to these cars. But I think a unique story to tell about this is, I'll shout him out, is he was the product planner responsible for this car. Worked for Mitsubishi at the time. His name is Ron Kasumi.
Okay.
And basically the story goes that Ron, as the VP of product planning for Mitsubishi in the 90s, went to the president of Mitsubishi at the time and was trying to pitch this car. Pitch the need for a 3000 GT with hardtop convertible technology. And Nissan was supposed to do it with that company I mentioned earlier, the 300ZX, and they only built one prototype that actually worked, the Nissan.
Oh my God.
And a real guy out there owns it. It's a public car.
No way.
But Mitsubishi, they wanted to swoop in right as Nissan backed out. And this guy, the story goes, it took Ron about like 30 minutes to basically convince his boss, the president of Mitsubishi, to greenlight this project.
There we go.
And even though they did it, it was a complete sales flop. A beast of a car, but in today,
this thing rips for the year it came out. It's pretty great. In conclusion, four-way steering probably freaked people out, for sure, for the time. Second, this car was way too ahead of its time. 3, it looks super good, especially when you find a good example.
I appreciate that.
And it's fantastic. And honestly, like, you don't see these in silver. You know, you usually see it in like a red or a black, and it's like not on purpose matte black, you know?
Yep.
But anyway, how can people find you?
So on YouTube, Diamond Star Media is the channel. You know, I'm not posting videos nearly as frequently as you, but it's like, I just like to, if you want to see an update of the cars, well, that's where you can find them. And then on Instagram is DSM Nation.
Perfect. Well, dude, pleasure, man.
Yeah, thank you, Dave,
pleasure.
so much.
Had a great time. We're just driving around Texas roads, not a lot of curves here. I wish there was, but we still had an amazing time. Got a good history lesson too. Well, on that note, I upload on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.